this is the Oz report for June 28th, 2025. And today is also when CCP announced the global PLEX market. And while that doesn't have any impact, any massive impact yet on EVE Online, so you can see that PLEX prices this week actually went up instead of down. I do quickly want to mention it because it's going to impact a lot of players. So really quickly, CCP today announced in a dev blog that they are going to make the PLEX market global. It's a first step in this implementation, but it means that from when they implement, they're testing it on CC, they're going to implement it at sometime soon, TM. When they implement it on TQ, all of your PLEX orders are going to be canceled and your fees are going to be reimbursed. And from then on, all PLEX orders are going to be visible and transactable from anywhere in space. So there's not going to be the regional limit that we have on other goods on PLEX anymore. That is obviously a big shift. In my view, it's a very, very positive first step in a good direction because it's going to remove some of the friction that you have on the PLEX market. And PLEX being a currency, it totally just makes sense for that to be trans-regional. But this has a few caveats. So first of all, PLEX will still be able to be traded via contracts, and PLEX will also be able to be traded in player-owned stations in the same way that it was traded before. And so now, the difference that we're going to see is that new players, especially new players that maybe don't understand that the market is regional, is going to be they're going to be able to buy and sell PLEX more transparently and I think more intuitively. Is this going to make a massive difference? Not until CCP addresses, PLEX being traded by contracts, et cetera, and that just means that the people doing large-scale trades are still going to be the ones trading via contracts and evading taxes that way, et cetera, et cetera. And so, first step, it's a good step. It's a quality of life change, and probably more to come from CCP going forward. Now, we're not seeing a big impact on the market yet because that's not implemented yet. What we are seeing a lot of impact from this week is notifications. From the patch notes. Okay, we've had the Little Things patch hit the live server this week, and Little Things is always a great time for little small quality of life changes. We've had some massive market changes. If you're interested in those, check out the regular stream because we talked about this at length. For example, you can now import pricing on mass sell orders from your spreadsheets, etc., etc. It's fantastic, and also you get rid of those contract notifications. Sorry, that have been very, very annoying to get rid of in the past. So a lot of those things were fixed. But in terms of the market impact, there are three big changes that we need to talk about. So the first change is Pyrite. Okay, I'm going to show you in the game client right here. So let's start with Pyrite. So the change that they have done here is that they provide their argument in the patch notes. And so they're saying the universe has been experiencing a lack of Pyrite. This seems to mostly be the consequence of Metanox moon drills replacing manual moon mining from Athenors, Tartaros for R4, ores which provide Pyrite as a secondary product. We have discussed that, multiple times here on stream. The price has gone from about 10 ISK pre-Metanox to about 35 ISK at its peak. And so what they have done is they have, as a response, they will be increasing the refining yield of Scordite to increase its Pyrite amount. This aims to empower high-sec miners to act on the Pyrite shortage, hopefully increasing interest and value for miners in high-sec. Mordunium has been increased slightly in order to keep up with Scordite. Now, the feedback from the community has been mostly, this is a very small change, right? The market impact is Pyrite is down 8%, which is a big impact, but typically you see some overreaction on day one. So it's, this was announced previously by CCP that they were going to do something. In my discussions with Okami and CCP Ratari on stream here as well, they announced that they were going to do something. They did something now. It's the small incremental steps that we've come to expect from CCP, and so we'll see where it goes. If this doesn't have a larger impact, I think they're going to double down and do something else. So, but first of all, Pyrite down 8% since the announcement is quite a good impact for now. The pricing is sub 30 now, nowhere near the 10 where it was before, but sub 30 is makes a big difference. The second change is Morphite. So Morphite is interesting because it was impacted massively by the tier 3 mining sites that were adapted quite rampantly in nullsec, all right? And that's the big drop you see after the March 18th patch here. Regarding Morphite, they're saying, with the introduction of the tier 3 mining upgrades and the improvements we made to tier 2 mining upgrades in the Revenant major update, we ended up overcorrecting the amount of Morphite supply available, making it more plentiful than we would like it to be. And so we're making adjustments to the respawn time and the availability of the Mercoxide deposits tied to level 2 and level 3 mining upgrades. The result is a 24% increase in Morphite prices since the announcement here, as you can see on the screen behind me. The pre-patch price was 100,000, which was historically very, very, very high, right? The post-patch price was more like 30, 35,000. Previous equilibrium rates was around 40,000, so it's very possible that they're aiming for that, 40k mark. All right. I personally didn't push for this. I don't think that it was a major issue, this Morphite availability. However, in the combination with also cheap moon materials from Metanox proliferation, overall the price levels for Tech 2 stuff, modules and ships, was quite low. All right. So whereas Tech 2 I think can handle this price increase in Morphite, and it's going to make mining more lucrative for those that do mine. This doesn't help in capital prices. Obviously, it's another thing increasing capital prices, and so overall, it's an understandable change. But same with Pyrite. Let's see what it does in the long term. I hope that it doesn't make Morphite prices go back up over 50, because that I think would be an issue. I think other than that, it's fine. The third change from the patch notes I wanted to talk about is the exploration loot. All right, so for that, I'm going to return to my dashboard here and say there are 3 categories of exploration loot, specifically from ghost sites, that we have been talking about. Sorry, it's those 3 right here. All right. We've been talking about molecular forging tools, molecular forged materials, and advanced protective technology as being a major bottleneck in capital and mostly dread production. Right. This has been by design basically a break that is implemented by CCP as a maximum ceiling on dread and capital production. So only a certain amount of these is dropped in exploration sites, in high-level exploration sites, namely ghost sites. And so that limits the amount of dreads that are able to be produced. That's good from one side because it prevents anyone from producing insane amounts, right? On the other hand, it's also not a very elegant way of doing it, because anytime you put in a break or a bottleneck, that means that it kind of hampers the free market or the the sandbox aspect of the game. And so, it's a design decision, whatever. What they've done now in this newest patch is they've added metamolecular combiners and isotropic deposition guides to the rare drops tables in data and relic site escalations, which come exclusively from the new exploration sovereignty upgrades. So from the SOV upgrades that address exploration sites, from those sites, they have escalations and these drop. That means that they're releasing a little bit of the bottleneck that we have seen in the past. What they explicitly have not done is addressed super capitals. So the third part here, the advanced protective technology, which includes these four items right here, and most importantly, the counter subversion sensor arrays and the nanoscale filter plates, those are still only available from ghost sites, and they are a huge cost driver for supercapital production. And so that is a big point of discussion between the player base and CCP, in that CCP is being is currently willing to release the bottleneck a little bit for capital and dreads, but not yet for super capitals. My personal opinion is that they should also add these to the loot tables, because the current super capital prices are just too ridiculously high. And I'm hoping that we can still convince CCP to do exactly that. But for now, this is what is in the patch notes. And so for now, these prices for these advanced protective technology, they are still 400 or 500% of 52-week average, because they are just simply not available. All right. And that's I think that wraps it up for today. We had there's some other things that let's look at the dashboard maybe really quick. There's some other interesting things going on. For example, the ZARM up 15%. We all know that the abyssal salvage is still very expensive. 0-point field manipulators are still, they're down a little bit in price, but they're still expensive. And so ZARMs are being used quite frequently right now, and they're rising in price in terms of raw materials. So that's an issue overall. But 15% is not, it's nothing crazy, but they're also not as available as they used to be. I think the availability in JITA dropped to 1 intermittently. Maybe they're back right now, but there's something going on with the ZARM. And then we're still seeing fuel blocks and ice being expensive, just like we mentioned last week. So nitrogen fuel blocks up 18%. These are used in reactions for tier Tech 2 production, right? And so certainly fuel blocks and ice still one thing that is very expensive. And then we're seeing lots of ships and meta modules here because there are currently in the war a lot of battles going on, and the alliance productions are being supplemented by supplies that are available in JITA here and there. And so you are seeing a lot of movement in the market overall. If we're looking at the overall market volume, we're seeing the trade volume returning to 18 trillion a day, which is down from where it was in the past few weeks at the height of Legion, the war kicking off, etc. So the market activity is going down a little bit, but overall it's still above average. And in terms of the Barbaroga that we talked so much lately, it's now the 8th most traded item yesterday and the 8th most traded item last week. So it's returning a little bit to normal. We learned from the CCP dev blog that there was 1,000 Barbarogas built and only 50 destroyed in the last few weeks. So that shows you that yes, there was a big run onto them for production, you know, destruction is lagging a little bit, but certainly a very popular ship, and that continues to be also reflected in 0 point for field manipulators. And yes, I heard a lot of you in the YouTube comments and in my discords that you don't think that 0 point field manipulators are coming down for various reasons. Happy to do a deep dive on one of those next week as I dive deeper into that market. Very happy to learn from your feedback, from those of you that are deeply involved in these markets. Keep giving feedback. I enjoy it. I enjoy also learning about parts of Eve that I'm not as deeply into. So thank you for that feedback, and we'll dive into that maybe next week. All right, we're going to return to the regular stream, and I will see you on the Oz Report.